Well, good morning, my Teaser King family. How's everybody today? I am fine. Went to the bank, rent's paid, doing the apartment application, and hopefully that should be good. They do have an apartment, same price, so everything's good there. Um, well, we were fine until about 9:45. Gold was over 5,400, and then the 10 o'clock drop, and it dropped at $80. What the fuck's that? Oh, now look at we're getting more at 10:15. It's 11 o'clock, and silver 87.03. Again, it's comex. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It makes 0 cents, and all we can do is just laugh at it, knowing it's not real, and just waiting for it to. That's my picture to Daria. Don't worry. Um, so that's. I mean, it's just a joke. I mean, these drops are just options. Nobody's selling gold. Nobody's selling silver. Our friend Cart from India, so he should have made a bundle Friday, and then today buy it again at 86, 87, and sell it at 95 in 2 days. And we will see. So again, we'll keep an eye on gold and silver. We'll just let it run. It's just options going down, and just as easily the options, as you can see, 53.50 went to 54.20, so it went up 70, and then it goes down, and it's somebody shorting it. It's just there's no way these are the actual prices as we know, which is why I call them the paper prices. Silver sliding. That's good. I want to buy silver for my birthday. All right. Um, so this war, these drones are very expensive. The U.S. doesn't have enough ammunition to last more than, I think, 2 weeks. About 2 weeks. They can be in total recall. So the purpose of the war, nobody has any idea. To get a regime change. Regime change. Translation, we're broke. We need oil. We need somebody friendly in charge that we can take the oil from. And we're fighting China and Russia now, which is not a good thing to do. This is, I really don't think the US dollar is the reserve currency, whatever that means anyway. It's gold and silver, the bricks with the gold and silver and everything else. So really, what are we doing there? Why do we need the regime change? And I think that's the hidden thing. Again, who's running the U.S.? Well, it ain't Trump. It's George Soros, obviously. How did he get in charge of the U.S. is beyond me. And Scott Simpson, the Treasury Secretary, works for Soros, not for the U.S. Big problem there. I was talking to this person on Telegram. One of these, I'm diversified. What do you do? Well, I teach economics, investment, finance. And so it always gets to, gold and silver versus the regular assets. Well, I'm in the banks and I'm in the stocks and I'm in bonds and I'm in crypto. And I, when I get done laughing, what gets me is they don't listen to me. And I can't, you got to be in the class to really understand who I am, what I am, that I'm telling you the truth and I prove it, right? But if it's just a quick conversation, you really can't do that, right? There's nothing you can do to prove it. I can just say, well, gold and silver, you can't inflate and you should buy it. And their response, well, I'm into crypto. I go, well, crypto, let's see how crypto's doing today. Crypto's probably getting killed. It's funny how gold's going down. Yeah, people are selling gold. And Bitcoin today is 69,000. So it's up a few thousand. Don't know why Bitcoin would be up and gold and silver would be down. It really makes 0 sense. Okay, so nobody can say why the war is going on. Nobody can say what caused the war. The regime change. And why is it our business to change the regime? Oh, it's Israel's business. Oh, yeah, we work for Israel. We're the biggest country in the world. We work for Israel. And now we're not anymore. China is. China's the new Alabama. They're number one. And Russia's number two. And India and Saudi Arabia are right up there. And then the U.S., we're not even in the top 10 anymore. We're in there for the stupid. We got some idiot coach is our coach. So it's really difficult. We're now in 4 wars, Mexico and Venezuela and Ukraine and now Iran. And then we're going to be Cuba we're going after next. We have no army. We have no equipment. We have no bullets. We're out of everything. We have a few drones. We have a few missiles, but we're using them here and between Ukraine and Iran. We don't have any. So how are we going to war when we don't have any missiles to fire? And drones are like $6 billion a piece. I mean, drones are very expensive. They're not $20,000. They're billions of dollars from what I read, maybe depending on the type. And so you're doing drones and, not good. So the whole war makes 0 sense. Anyway, the girl who I'm talking to on Telegram, I always wonder about that. Oh, I got your contact information from where? I didn't give it to you. So she gives me a song and a dance, and I own that. And I'm like, great, okay. Well, you're going to be broke. These wars are very expensive. Understand that. Now, it's easier when you actually don't send men in, but you still got to pay for the weapons and the flights and the gas for the planes and the battleships that are getting fired on. So you still got to pay for all the gas and the men on the ship and the food and the flights and the pilots and the gas there. That's pretty expensive right there. But then they fire the missiles, and these are $5 million missiles or $10 billion missiles or whatever they are, which is why they want the defense contractors want more buyers because they're very expensive pieces. So in a war, you'll buy them. Otherwise, you're not. They're too expensive. And that's their whole strategy. This is our strategy to get out of debt is let's have a war in every country in the world. Now I hear they might go after Greece and Turkey, or they'll be involved at this Iran war a little bit. So I don't know what's going on I think they pulled out of Venezuela, and then Mexico, we're getting involved with the mafia there. That's not too good. And Ukraine, the war won't end. Russia's won 83-0, and yet the war, Ukraine has no troops. Russia's captured whatever they wanted to. They didn't want it. This isn't World War II where they're trying to go into the Ukraine and get it all. They don't want half of it. They don't want the West near Lviv, near Poland, because the people there, they don't want to rule. And they're not going to expand into Europe. That's not their goal. However, their goal now is to win the war. And when Zelensky won't negotiate, how do I end a war if nobody negotiates? So it's like a football game where let's have the Super Bowl. It's Seattle, but we don't have a challenger for them. How do they win the game? There's nobody to play them. And that's what's happening with Ukraine. There's nobody there. So it's really ridiculous. Anyway, comex, we see the joke. We see these prices go down at 10 o'clock on algorithms, on a guy shorting it, making a lot of money on the shorts. It's such a fixed game. At least if we bet a football game, it's on TV. We see the game, we see the spread. Here, you don't see anything. It's just all you see is the drop for no reason. There's no reason gold and silver going down. It's a war. If anything, that would push the price up. There's no more supply. There's the demand is huge, especially they need it for these weapons. So silver should be going to 500 now, not down into the 80s. That's absolutely ridiculous. But again, I wouldn't play it week by week. I wouldn't borrow from my dad and play it for a week and then go from there. I would simply buy it and hold it. So it's my birthday coming up this week. And I'll probably get, well, I don't know. It depends on how far it goes. I might buy 4 ounces. I want to spend about $300, but if it's $100 now, I'm getting 3. But if it goes down to 80, I can buy 4 at $320. So that's, I'm happy either way. I think it will go up. One note on retirement. So I'm kind of like semi-retired, like Don Corleone in The Godfather. John C., hello. So you're not really getting the income in, except for what I'm making on gold and silver, because I put the January 1st date in. This is what it's at, and now today's date. And I wish I made this much money normally, right? In a job, I wish I made this much money. And the other part is it's non-taxable, because if gold goes from 5,200 to 5,300, and I got 100 ounces, I make $10,000, and there's no tax on it because it's not income. So, but the hard part of the investments when you're retired is, okay, you make $10,000 on it, goes up from 5,200 to 5,300, but you don't have the money. It's not like you can draw the money down. Like when you're working, you get a paycheck, and you get the paycheck and it goes into your bank, and now it's replenished, and you go from $5,000 in the bank to $10,000 in the bank. So then you pay your bills with it, and you're replenishing it. In this case, you're not. The value of the gold and silver goes up, but you don't really recognize the money. And since you're not collecting a paycheck, although you do I get Social Security, it does make it kind of strange for you that that's what you're doing, right? So my income is Social Security, and that's got to pay rent and the bills, which it does. I need a little bit more for some credit cards, which is fine. But it's not getting the paycheck that you're not used to. I've been working since I was 16 at Farmer Jack's, and you always get money in. And so this is the hard part. You get one check a month on Social Security and nothing else. But then you watch your gold and silver go up, and you make $10,000, but you don't have it. And then you go, well, if I sell an ounce of gold, then I don't make $10,000. I make 9,900 or whatever, right? Now I only have 99 ounces, not 100 ounces. And I know it's going up to $10,000 an ounce. So I want to I don't want to sell any of it in lieu of selling now, and then the price goes up, which is what's going to happen, as we know. And so that's the hard part of retirement. You got to have the mind. Like today, I had to go to the bank to cover rent. I needed a few $100s. And, but then you realize, well, I got all this money in gold and silver, but I can't recognize it. So this is worth what, 90, so it's worth like $180. But I mean, it was worth 60. Now it's worth 180, but I don't recognize the gain. And unless I take this to the store to get it, it doesn't help me. So that's the problem. It's your value goes up, but it's like, I guess it's like a stock where the stock, Apple goes from 100 to 110. You made money, but you don't recognize it. So that's the hardest part in the retirement is you're not getting that cash in, but the assets you have are worth more. So I don't want to get rid of gold and silver. I know they're going to be worth a lot more because you can't print them. You can't print them. They're going up, especially with all these wars and the U.S. going broke. The gold and silver goes up. The demand from not only BRICS, but now these other Africas wants to go gold back. And then all these countries with dollars going out will run to gold. Basically, China and Russia has already done it. The BRICS countries, it's the non-BRICS countries and the countries joining BRICS, which will keep the demand for gold and silver, which will keep the price going up. So you don't want to sell it early. But, if you need, like soon, okay, it's worth 10 grand. Okay, I'll sell an ounce. That'll cover a whole year of these little expenses. So that's the other part of it. So you got to adjust your mindset into, I do have money in the assets and I'm not getting a paycheck, because that was your kind of comfort level. Well, I'm working, I'm getting a paycheck. This is why people freak out when they lose their job. They go, how am I going to pay my bills? I'm making 80 grand a year and I can live nice and go on vacations to Disney World or whatever. In my case, go to Ukraine and Italy and Spain and go on your vacations. And then all of a sudden you don't get that paycheck. What do? Well, that's retirement. No more paycheck. But if you're smart, you got your money in gold and silver. Now, the people who have their money in their 401ks, they're going to get fucked, because when it's just like Bitcoin went from 120 to 65, right? That's it. Now what do you do? So it's the same thing here. You have gold and silver protecting you. But if you have your money in the stock market, let's see what the stock market's doing today. TK, is gold going to replace the dollar? It already has. What's the deal in Iran? Well, Iran's going to win. They're favored by 14 points, and they're just going to hold out on the U.S. The U.S. cannot play long. They got too many injuries, so they have no army, very little navy. We have an air force shooting drones or missiles at them, but they just go under the ground, and we hit nothing, and then that's it. And then, but we have like 50 of them, right? So they'll last maybe 2 weeks. Then what do we do without missiles? We're going to go, what? Does Israeli have any missiles? Well, they've got that little golden dome of Notre Dame protecting Tel Aviv, but they're getting strike because Iran's attacking Israel and Tel Aviv, so it makes it difficult. The market's down 130 only. We're only in 4 wars. Why would the market go down? So it's at 48.8. I mean, this is the most unbelievable thing. In a war, the market is not affected. Come on, really? It's all manipulated. It's crazy. So you have to understand all the manipulation going on. And you think, that's why I laugh when you guys think football's rigged or basketball's rigged. And I'm like, well, so is Wall Street. So is the comex, everything. Tell me what isn't rigged. The Congress is rigged. They're all paid off by George Soros. So basically, they wanted a change because we're broke, and they wanted to steal the oil. And Khomeini didn't allow them, and they're in bed with Russia and China, Iran. So we're sitting there going, well, we need oil because we're broke, and we don't want to admit we're broke. And, this way we'll try to buy, if we can steal oil. We tried in Venezuela. That didn't go well. We're also under the authority of Netanyahu. The Israeli president is running the U.S. How the hell did that happen? This shows you shows you the idiots that run for the office and win the office, and they all get paid off. I'm going to run for Congress so I can get the golden parachute from George Soros and in Israel to allow the defense contractors, because that way they can sell weapons. And that's really the underlying thing with Ukraine and Venezuela and Mexico and here. So we can sell weapons to try to get out of the $39 trillion debt we're in, and you're not going to do it. And it's amazing talking to this girl yesterday on Telegram. I'm supposed to diversify my portfolio. Not now. You didn't diversify it. You're either in, here's your portfolio. You're either in this or you're in this. That's it. If you're in stocks, bonds, real estate, trust, Bitcoin, you're in this. Or you're in this. Which one would you rather be in? Of course, this one. So when you're telling me it's diversified, it's not. Everything you have is in this, and this isn't worth anything. But people can't wrap their heads around that it's not worth anything. Well, I said, well, good luck. You're going to go broke. You already are broke, probably, even though you don't know it. And the gold's going to go up. And, oh, no, it won't. I go, well, how about the $39 trillion in debt? Do you just ignore that? That's not a problem? Just 39 trillion. Nothing. And again, if we had gold in Fort Knox, we would pull it and move the gold price up instead of keep pushing it down and watch the gold go, and then end the debt. I mean, we're paying $1 trillion a year, probably more, like $1.2 trillion now in debt every year. Well, where are you getting the money for that? Well, we'll just keep printing it. Well, yeah, but it makes it worth it. People think because it's the reserve currency, you can just keep printing it and there's no problem. But what they don't understand is, but then they ruin the currency. So yes, things are priced in dollars, but that doesn't allow you to print all the dollars you want and ruin the currency basically still goes to zero. Reserve or not, you ruin you ruin the currency, which is what you've done. So it doesn't matter that it's the reserve, whatever that means. It meant something before, but I don't think it means anything now. And I think gold's the reserve currency. And I think BRICS is way ahead of the game with all their gold and silver. I can see probably at the end of the day, we'll have to join BRICS, which we should have done already. But if we didn't do all these wars because we're broke, we probably could have still had good business ties with everybody, which should be the role of the government, should be for good business, not for this shit. TK, you should run for office and tell everybody about gold and silver. What good would that do? They would just kill me because they want to be corrupt. They can't be corrupt if it's on gold and silver. But I mean, that's the problem. They know about gold. They just don't want it because it limits how many dollars they can do. But if you're off of gold, you can just print $1 billion and you can have all these billionaires who the only reason they're billionaires is because their stock goes up. And the only reason the stock goes up is we're printing money and putting it into these 4 or 5 stocks. Anyway, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, there's people in government that know about the gold standard. And if I went to Congress today, nobody would listen because that would mean they'd lose their $1 million lobbyist payouts. Why aren't there term limits? You don't need me to tell you that. You should serve 1 term and then you're out and no lobbyist payment. Where did that come from? I don't think Washington, Jefferson, and Adams said, yeah, let's have no term limits and lobbyists in a central bank. They were against all that. This is the problem with the Constitution. If they want to do things like that, they ignore the Constitution. We'll have a central bank, but we won't call it a central bank. We'll call it a Federal Reserve. So it's not a central bank, even though it's exactly a central bank. All right. So let's talk a little sports. So basketball yesterday. I'm starting to look. No, I had no interest in turning on the game at 1:00 or the game at 8:00 and watching it. That's the first problem. Football, we bet. Football is once a week, so we can bet it because it gives us time to prepare. because you need to study football. Basketball is every day. It gives you really no time to prepare, but I would say you probably have less to prepare for. It's five guys. If you have a star on your team, you know, it's a big difference. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, those are huge, and they played every day. So your biggest problem with basketball is Joe Blow playing today, which you don't know, and he might not announce till an hour before the game. So how can I make a big bet now or even give a big tip if I don't know if everybody's playing? Um, Seems like there's a few good teams and a lot of bad teams. Now, like I said yesterday, these teams are not tanking. There's not enough talent for 32 teams, right? You maybe have 20 pros. That's it. Every team has one or two. You have the worst stars I've ever seen. You have a terrible league. And so therefore, I watched a minute of the game at night, and they actually drove the lane. I almost fell off my chair. Then the guy made a three-pointer. This is the whole AI thing or analytics. Well, you get 3 points versus 2. So take 3-point shots because you score more, even though the percentage of hitting it is like, maybe 20%. We're hitting a layup's probably 95%. They don't take that into consideration. So it becomes a boring game. And baseball, we can at least kind of look at the pitcher and be pretty sure he's pitching. And you pretty much know of an injury. Like we knew what Philadelphia there, but Bryce Harper, he was out for a while. So we knew that. And then he's in the box score. Now he's back. Okay, now we can bet Philadelphia. So there's a few players like that. But in basketball, I'm not going to go through all the box scores this morning. I go through them every day and keep my spreadsheet and try to figure out the teams. I mean, you can pretty much figure out the teams. I mean, there's a few good teams, not a lot. OKC, maybe, I don't know. Well, let's look at the standings of this crap. So here's the standings. So in the East, Orlando's in the first place in the South, 31-28. Miami 32-29, and then you get a team like Washington 16-43, and Charlotte 30-31. Is Washington tanking? No, they either have some injury or they just have bad players. And the way it's set up, there's only 4 or 5 players that are in the draft that are any good anyway. And so if you're drafting too late, there's no players for you to draft because college is getting so bad that the players play 1 year and leave. So they're not developing. And if you take the guy who played 1 year, you're not going to get a good player. And you got to look for a guy who's played like 3 years. But if they're any good, they wouldn't be there 3 years. So there's Washington can get the number 1 pick. Who's there? You don't even know. The Atlantic, Boston with 40 wins. The Knicks 39, Toronto 35, Philly 33. And then Brooklyn at 15-45. So we've got 5, 10, we've got 15 teams. Then Detroit with 45 wins, Cleveland 38, Milwaukee 26, Chicago 25, and then Indy 15. So you've got 3 real bad teams, Washington, Brooklyn, and Indy. Now, can we bet against them? It's hard to do teasers in basketball. I think it's 4 points, but with the 3-point shot, it doesn't help you. Football is a 6-point teaser, so you can go from 2 to 8, and then they've got to win by 2 touchdowns. Where here, I mean, it's not hard to get a 3-point shot, especially at the end. The guys will just take them. Then you got the guys fixing the game where they fake injuries and they get hurt, and they don't do any. It's like, well, I bet under that I won't score 20 points. And so you're counting on the guy, which you'd never see with Mahomes, oh, I'm going to throw 3 interceptions and win my money. There's more pride in football, obviously, than basketball. These guys are in it, obviously, only for the money because I'll bet against them. They'll bet that I won't do well and fake injuries. So the whole gambling with sports has just ruined it. You got to bet against Detroit this year, the Tigers. Oh, I don't know. It all comes out to how the pitching's doing. I bet the pitcher. I don't even look at the team. If it's a good pitcher, if Paul Skenes pitching, he's on Pittsburgh. I know, but Ranger Suarez on Philadelphia, or some of these, the guy in Atlanta, Chris Sale. That's who I bet on. So I don't really look at the team, but I don't know. The Tigers, they have such a bad lineup, and I think Framber Valdez is there. So when they trade Skubal, and I don't trust or like Skubal at all, he's going to be in this what is this baseball classic bullshit that they're doing at the end of the week? What is that? I mean, give me a break. Oh, that'll make me watch baseball. These guys aren't even ready. They're in preseason. They're just learning how to throw again. So of this, we have Detroit and Cleveland, we have Boston, New York, and Toronto, and that's it. So we have 5 good teams that you can actually bet on. The rest, you got Washington 16 wins, Brooklyn 15, and Indy 15 that you bet against. If it works like that in basketball, I'm not saying it does. So you got really 3 Z teams, I would say, right away. But when you look at the stats, who's this? Brooklyn. They score 107 a game and give up 115. But if we look over here, there isn't, they're all, okay, here's a team that gives up 123, but most of them are giving up 113, 114, 117. Here's Orlando. They give up 114. Here's Boston, who gives up 107. And then Detroit, who's first place, gives up 109. And the rest are 115 and 120. So there's not a big differentiation. Football, I can bet the over in Detroit and Cincinnati. They give up 30 points a game. God forbid I try the last 5 in this. You've got the West Coast trip where they go for 3 or 4 games on the West Coast. You've got the back-to-back games, play Tuesday and Wednesday. So there's a lot more variables that go into NBA basketball. That's the Eastern Conference. Let's look at the Western. So we start out San Antonio now, 43-17, and Houston with 37. We've got Oklahoma City with 47 wins. They're the top, and then Minnesota 38, Denver 37. So you got a few teams there, and then you got the Lakers at 36, Phoenix at 34, and let's call Golden State at 31. Well, that's not. So we got 2, 5, we got 7 teams in the West that are maybe 8 teams. And then we've got our Dallas 21 wins, New Orleans 19 wins. We've got Utah with 18 wins, and we've got Sacramento with 14 wins. So we got 4 Z teams. You think these teams are tanking? You think Utah and Sacramento are tanking? They're not tanking. They don't have any players because there's not enough players in the league. Let's say there's 10 good players. Well, there's 30 teams, right? You don't have players for 30 teams. You never did. Back when Magic and Bird were playing, you had about 20 superstars. Malone and Stockton. Obviously, Magic and Kareem and James Worthy. Sacramento got Chris Webber later. Atlanta had Dominique Wilkins, and Houston had Elijah Wan, and Drexler was at Portland. So each team had like one superstar, and then there was some teams that didn't have any. Detroit got lucky and had Isaiah. But that was it. And you would have, so you had 10, 15 really good teams. and then the other 15 were really shitty. Here you got what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 good teams in the West, and you have 5 good teams in the East. But it's not that Brooklyn's tanking; they don't have talent, or their talent's injured. I think Boston, don't they have a guy injured, and they're still 40-20. So I don't buy that when I hear tanking. They're not tanking; they're bad teams. They have no talent. They have no star, and the star is crucial in NBA. There's only 5 players. So if you have one star and the other 4 guys just look at them, and the guys on the other team can't stop them because they just can handle 3-point shots, that's the problem with basketball. So you can only bet on the stars, as we do in football. Bet on Montana, bet on Brady, bet on Mahomes, bet on Joe Burrow. Who you got winning it all? I got San Antonio. I don't care. I don't follow it, so it's a mute question. And that's a big thing, right? So you have to bet on the stars. Now, who are the stars in this league? I don't know. Let's see if we can find out who the stars are. So let's go to stats. I can't even go to the All-Star game because I can't tell if the best players. So let's go in scoring by points. 2025. So Luca Brasi, 32. He's on the Lakers. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on Oklahoma is 31. Anthony Edwards, who did visit our class once on Minnesota, who I never heard of, is 29. We have Tyrese, is that a girl? Maxey, Philadelphia, 29. I got Jaylen Brown from Boston, 29. I got Niko Jokic, 28-8. I love when they, on that one guy from OKC, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, and they call him SGA because they can't pronounce the name. Only who the fuck's SGA? Nobody knows him enough to say he's SGA. Nobody follows this shit. All right. So Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland is 28. And then Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers is 27. Jalen Brunson of New York is 26. Kevin Durant, he's still playing, 26 on Houston. Cade Klubnik on Detroit, 25. Harden of San Diego, 25. And that's really it. Jalen Murray of Denver is 25, and Devin Booker, Arizona, 24. Michael Porter of Brooklyn, 24. I mean, this is the problem. You start getting, all right, so how many guys did I name? Michael, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I named 15 guys who average more than 24 a game. You got 30 teams. So you want to tell me these other 15 teams are tanking it? They don't have a guy who scores 25 points a game with all the 3-pointers. That's nothing. That's not a great player. So your best player, Luka Doncic from The Godfather, he's your best player. Give me a break. You got to be kidding. I mean, he averages 32 points a game, only gets 2 fouls a game, so he doesn't play defense. And that's it. So you got one guy averaging 32, one guy averaging 31. And that's your league. So nobody's tanking. There's no reason to tank to get the number 1 pick. Why? So you can get a guy one and done who sucks. Is there anybody in college that's any good? The guy from Duke last year, let's see what the guy from Duke is. Does he even play? What was his name? Flag. George Kittle. Zion Williamson averages 21. He stinks. Here, Cooper Flag on Dallas averages 20 points a game. This is your number one pick. He averages 20. The number one pick I know is Magic, who scored 50 in the finals. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. He wasn't even the number one pick. Isaiah, very, very good, great player. Dominique Wilkins, Karl Malone, these guys. So you have nothing like that here. So you're trying to bet inferior talent. So you look at the star, and that's what you got. So how do we problem solve this? Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio, averages 23. These are just average players, but when the league's so bad, they look good, right? So in the 80s, when Jordan averaged 30 points a game, that was something because the defense was really tough. Here, when this Luca Brasi averages 32, there's no defense being played. So, like I said, I looked at the team stats and everybody gave up between about 115 and 120 points a game. Boston was the best at 107. So they'd be maybe an under team or maybe they're an A team, but I don't even know if I can grade the teams based on that. Then I've got all the little variables, the back-to-back games, the West Coast, East Coast trips, and the lot, and then this guy sitting out because he's tired. He's a crybaby. He's sitting out. I don't understand the NBA. If you don't love the game, go play tennis. Go work at the grocery store. If you should only play things that you're passionate about, and these Isaiah was, Magic was, Bird was, Kareem was, right? Those guys are passionate. Not here. They're not. If you're sitting out, it means you're not passionate. Yeah, I'd like to go out with my girl, but yeah, I'm gonna sit home and watch TV instead. How much are you passionate about her if you're skipping a chance to be with her? So that's my point. So how do I grade it? Now I'm gonna try to grade it just for fun. It's in between. We're getting ready for the NFL draft, but let's take a look. In the NFL draft, you got Mendoza, Pavia, the guy from Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, the guy from Utah, if he's even playing, Devin Dampier should be a top 5 pick. Not a lot of quarterback. It's a big defensive draft. All the Miami guys, Ohio State guys, Texas Tech guys on defense, as well as Utah and BYU, very good defenses. And it's much easier it's easier to draft. There's more players than that. So do we look at the best player, Luca Brasi, or Shea, or Anthony Davis in Minnesota, Tyrese Maxey, is it a guy or a girl on Philadelphia? So we can let's try to script the team. Let's try to problem solve the teams if we can, if we have enough information, realizing these are terrible players. So somebody's got to be the best of the terrible players, right? That's where Luca Brasi comes in. He's the best hitman of the hitmen in The Godfather. But are these guys even NBA players? Could they go up against Magic and Bird? None of them could. Isaiah, Isaiah would average 100 points a game, as would Magic and Bird. McHale would score 75 a game against these clowns. You got Luca Brasi, I think he's like 7 foot, and he shoots 36% from the 3-point line. He attempts 10 a game and he makes 3. He makes 3.7. It must fall on the rim and stay on the rim for the 0.7s. He doesn't shoot a lot of free throws. This is incredible. He attempts 10 free throws a game. You're a power forward guy. You should be going to the line 20 times a game. Anthony Davis, 39 from the three. But again, this whole 3-point thing. Nikola Jokic on Denver is 40 points, 40% from the free, but it's only 4.9 a game, and he makes two of them. So he doesn't even make half of his 3-point, but he's not shooting. Here, Donovan Mitchell shoots 10 a game. Oh my God, they must stunk Cleveland. He looks like the highest. I mean, what are you shooting? Here's Michael Porter shoots 9 a game. And this is just terrible basketball. Keontae George from Utah, that explains why they're in last place, shoots 7 a game. Miami. So you can see the team's in trouble. They're shooting 7. The guy shoots 7 3-pointers. Here's a guy from New Orleans, 8.6 a game. I think it's the worst play. It's like the tush push. Here's a guy in Atlanta, shoots 8, makes 3, and you wonder why they're last. Charlotte, LaMelo Ball shoots 9 a game, makes 3, 36%. It reminds me of that statistic in baseball, which is the stupidest statistic, is the OPA or OA, whatever it is. It's not on base percentage. It's not. It's like the combination of on base and hits and home and extra base hits. It's totally meaningless. Just give me batting average, home runs, and RBIs, and I'm fine. Thank you. Again, that's where you're changing algorithms and analytics for no reason. Does it make anything better? No. It's like going for fourth down. This will help you win if you go for fourth down. But if you miss, it'll help you lose. But they don't say that. So you've got a big problem here where a lot of these analytics come in and they're meaningless. They really don't tell you anything. So let's go to the 3-point shot. Well, you get 3 points if you make it, and if you do a dunk, you only get 2. Well, I'm going to make my dunk 100% of the time, and I'm going to make these 3-point shots. Here's a good guy, and he makes 29%, 30%. Guy in Memphis hits 35. He's basically shoots 5 a game and makes 2. Yeah, and you wonder why these teams are in last place. Charlotte, Washington, Cleveland. Well, Cleveland, James Harden shoots 6 and makes 3. Oh, whippy. So the sport's gotten just stupid because of analytics. They've ruined their game, and I talked about this yesterday. It's because of the analytics, right? Let's take 3-point shots. Let's go 4 down, 4th down. Let's get the 2-point conversion when we're down 14, not when we're down 7. Well, that's in parentheses. It's like that 28% capital gains on gold. It's only if you make over $600,000. If you make 50,000, there's 0 capital gains tax on that. So with that said, what do go for 3 instead of 2 because you get more points with 3 than 2. Duh. So it's really stupid. I mean, the whole thing's just incredibly stupid because you can score a lot. The Magic, Showtime had no problem putting up 125 a game, shooting layups all the game because of Magic and Kareem with the skyhook. You're going to move Kareem to 3-point land and give up his skyhook, which he makes 99% of the time? Are you kidding? And the foul he got against the Pistons where he made the 2 free throws to win the game. Are you kidding me? So that's really the key is dumb coaching, going with long shots with low percentages and wondering, the teams are tanking. The teams are not tanking. There aren't very many good players in it. So when they play these top 10, 15 players, of course. So your best team's what, OKC? And they got the second leading scorer in the league, 31 a game. So that makes sense. And you don't. So they're going to win a lot of games because they score more, which is the whole object of the game. This is the problem, right? This is the problem with basketball. And the same conspiracy theorists Joseph Goebbels on the radio, who says that, also says they're tanking, and he has no idea, and they're not. He doesn't quite understand the league sucks. The players are bad. There's only a few, what did I say, 15 good players in the league, if that, which I doubt. And guys that are average look better because there's the competition level is so bad. And why is that happening? Because the guys in college are only playing a year, and then they're going into the G League because they're not good enough, because they should be playing like 3 years in college. Go get a fucking education, maybe. How much money are you making in the D League, or the G League, whatever the hell they call it, whatever letter they're giving it. But that's the problem. They're not being developed. It's the same thing with the quarterbacks. They're not being developed. That's why you have very few good quarterbacks in the NFL. And same thing here. You have very few good players because they're not developed in college, because they're all doing one and done and going for the money. And maybe they sign it, but maybe they don't. And then they don't play because they suck. And then the teams who do this then are tanking because the players they drafted suck. And they're just not good. And that's the problem. And so that's why the league sucks. You have no good players. As I mentioned, that 71 All-Star game, here's on the bench, Roberto Clemente. Pete Rose wasn't even there. I don't know why. You start off with Mays, Aaron, and Willie Stargell, Willie McCovey, Johnny Bench. So he's batting six, Johnny Bench. I mean, it's just crazy, right? So you have that, the superstars. You don't have superstars now. You had Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Jordan, Kareem, Dr. J. You had superstars. You don't now. You don't have any superstars. And you got a guy who's pretty good, but because the league sucks, I don't consider Luca Brasi a superstar. Or this Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Where's he from? What country is this guy from? Let's see. Where's he from? Nigeria. He's from, born in Toronto. Went to Kentucky. 6'6", 195. 2018 first round. All right. So you'd think he's from Nigeria or somewhere, but he's actually from Toronto. But you don't have any stars in the league. If he's the MVP, the league sucks. And that's it. So that's what you have with that. And it makes it hard to handicap non-professional players. It makes you hard to, you can see how many bad teams there are because they don't have the talent. And in basketball with five guys, you can hide the talent gap in football. You can have this strong you can put everybody on defense, have a strong defense. Sort of like Houston, great defense, no quarterback, no offense. So you can they're a good team because they kind of win not because of CJ Stroud. They win because of their defense. So you can do that. You can get a quarterback like Jackson Dart on the Giants, and he sucks, but he looks good because the league sucks. And then you get a guy like Stafford, who's a superstar, and Mahomes and Burrow, and you can see, these are the superstars. And then everybody else is average, below average. Caleb's good. No, Caleb's stuck. Drake May sucks. They're not good. In the league, they're okay because the league's so watered down, and there's basically you got 30 teams in basketball, and I gave you 15 players, and I don't know that all of them are good. You got 15 good scorers in the league, but you got 30 teams. So are the teams tanking? Not at all. They're just bad. There's not enough good players to go around, and they need to have about 20 teams in the league. You've got too many teams, and you don't have good enough players. And I don't, again, because they're leaving college early, you can't mandate them, but these guys are just stupid. They should play. I would play at least, if you're Magic Johnson, you can get away with playing 2 years, but otherwise Even old Isaiah played 4 years. Bird played 4 years. They turned out okay. Jordan played 4 years. Funny, they all turned into superstars. Now you got guys doing one and done. All right, once in a while you get a. Even Shaq played 4 years. Oh, okay, once in a while you get a Moses Malone. Kobe didn't play college, but he played in Europe for a few years, so he was working on his game. Um, LeBron, well, he never really developed. He was just big, and they wouldn't let you call fouls on him. I mean, that was the end of pro basketball. Was LeBron? He killed the sport. But so, how do you analyze this? Because the bad teams have no stars on them. That's why they're bad. So you can look at their record. They're probably bet against, but we don't know. We have to chart them and say, well, if you bet on and bet against, these are what, 4 or 5 point teasers. So there's no point in a teaser. Just pick the game and try to see that. And then you've got to look at these guys sitting out. So if you got these, Luca Brasi sitting out for LA, you're in big trouble. Or um, Nicole Jokic sits out for Denver. You got a problem. I bet Denver. What do you mean he's sitting out? The sit out thing is bullshit. I would only pay if you play. So if there's 82 games, I'm going to pay you 82 million. And if you don't play, you don't get the million for the game. Yeah, then they won't be sitting out. I wouldn't pay 82 million, but I'm just using a round number as an example. So this is the problem. Football, we can see the teams that suck, the Z teams, the Jets, the Giants, Washington, only because of the injuries. Washington's bad because Jalen Daniels got hurt. If he plays, they're much better. The Jets suck. The Giants suck, although they got Scatterboo, which I like. And you go down it, Carolina sucks. You can see the Z team. That's why I grade it. I can do the Z teams in football because you're watching the game. It's once a week. You can study it, analyze it, break the team down, and go, yeah, you're a Z team. You suck. Here we kind of, if I superficially Z teamed, the teams that won, like Utah, won 15 games. Okay, they're a Z team. Now, can I bet the A team, OKC or Denver or one of these because they have the star? Can I just bet on them? Would it be that simple? They're playing the Z team. I don't think it is because I think the spread would be pretty high. But again, I got to watch it and I got to see. And then you have a bunch of teams. You probably have, what's there, 30 teams. So I gave you what? There was like 10 or let's say there was 15 A teams. There was 7 in the West. I think there was 5 in the East, 7 in the West. There's 12 teams out of your 30 that, let's call them A teams, which I'm not sure they are. And then you have your really bad teams. So that's 19. So that leaves you 11 in somewhere in between. And there really isn't over and unders because they all give up 114 to 120 and they all score in the same range. So there's really not the Lions or the Cincinnati giving up 30 points a game. It'd be really hard to do last 5 in basketball. It would just be too time consuming. I might look into it, give me something to do. But I'll keep you posted on that, or at least try to play around. Like baseball. Baseball at first, I started handicapping. I looked at I try to rank the teams, A or Z or over or under, and then you would get averages. And then I went to, this team's a good hitting team. And then slowly it led me to the pitching. And then slowly it led me to, I don't care what the hitting is, they're not going to hit this pitcher. And then that led you to betting the ERAs, understanding their averages. So when a guy gives out 6 runs a game and shuts out the other team, you go, what the fuck was that? How's he got a 6 ERA and he shuts out a team for 7 innings? That's what doesn't compute in baseball, but that's okay. There's most of the time the guy gives up 6 runs. That's how he's got a 6 ERA. It's not even giving up 6 runs. He gives up 3 runs in 3 innings or something like that. And you get a lot of that shit. And then you get a lot of they over pitch. There's too many bullpen pitchers in baseball that it's just the sport's so bad right now. There's no stars in baseball. Well, maybe Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper and the guy on Toronto, the number 3 hitter, and then Bo Brissett. I don't know if he's a star. Maybe my guy on Houston, the second baseman, Altuve, Bryce Harper. Those are the stars. Not much. Anyway. Did I think Dan Marino could throw 60 touchdowns in today's era? Yeah, I mean, so would Joe Montana. I mean, if they can't rush you and they get all these cheap penalties, yeah, they'd feel more comfortable and do it. It's a mute question because Marino doesn't play now, but you can see where the rules have gotten so bad. You can't touch the quarterback. Joe Flacco saying, I don't care. I signed up to be a pro quarterback. That means I'm going to get hit. Otherwise, I could have worked at the grocery store. So they know what they're getting into. And all this, they're trying to keep the quarterback healthy. And it's just like baseball. It doesn't work. The quarterback Mahomes still got hurt. This late slide personal foul crap, I really don't like. When the guy, like Mahomes, is running, and then the guy's about to tackle him, and he slides, and the guy still hits him late because he slides. I think that's bullshit. I don't think they should have the slide. Or he's got to, then he gets into, well, he's got to slide within 2. It should just be tackle him guy. The guy wants to run, you tackle him. That's it. This should be pro football. The running back runs the ball, you tackle him. Quarterback wants to run the ball, you tackle him. Should not be this slide, I give up. No, that shouldn't be in the game. Push tush shouldn't be in the game. I don't care if Philadelphia does it or doesn't do it, or if it's St. Louis or Pittsburgh or Green Bay. I don't care who does it. You can't push the other player. That's not football. Football is you running the ball. That should not be allowed to be pushed or carried by your teammates. Should be a 15-yard penalty. You get rid of that horse shit. TK, I would love to see you coach someday. Well, I doubt it'll happen, but we'd win the Super Bowl, put it that way. You ever think about coaching again? Well, I never really coached. I coached my girls' fast pitch softball team. We were really aggressive. We would steal a lot every chance we got. But I never coached football, but I would problem solve the game. Apparently, Bill Walsh wrote out all his notes in a book. And it's actually a good thing about managing people, strategy, things like that. It would be a good book to read, I would say. But that's kind of what I do here. I don't really write books, but if you listen to my classes, you could write a whole economics thing between markets and Adam Smith and Say's Law, gold and silver. It basically hits all the fundamental things that you need. I laugh when I see these guys. Well, Joe Smith wrote a book on whatever, inflation, and it's all wrong, and you just laugh at it. But that's the thing. I think that, watching my classes, you could easily write a book on it. I wrote a thesis on my directed study of the trade cycle and the stock market, and I read that a little to you last week, where there's, I think, 17 steps, and it's caused by the interest rates going down and then going up, and that's the cycle, and it's the Fed because of the central bank fucking around everything, and that's it. But anyway, That's how I would handicap basketball. Is I would look at the stars. You always want to bet the stars, and they're stars for a reason. And this Luca Brasi guy who averages 32 a game, even with LeBron, so I don't know what I would do with it. Uh, I don't know if it works to cover. That I'd have to look into. Some guy asked me about college basketball, and I'm like, way too many teams in college basketball. I could maybe concentrate on the Big Ten and the ACC and just those two groups, conferences. That would be about it. But football, I got 132 teams to analyze, but I have a week to do it. And because it's my passion, I get into that. That's why I can't get into basketball until now, because I'm in, well, at least till the bowl games. So once we get into December and then the bowl games are announced, I study those. If the guys play, see, the bowl games is like the NBA, right? All of a sudden, Michigan sits out, 10 guys in their bowl game and they get killed. And it's the same thing here is when these guys do their little sit out. Luca Brasi's not playing today, or when that Shea Alexander didn't play against the Pistons. It's funny how they're sitting out guys against the Pistons. That's how much they think of the Pistons. They sit out their guys. Cleveland did it, and OKC did it, and San Antonio played their guys and they killed them. So I don't know anything. Again, it's hard to schedule. The East is so weak. You can't to say Detroit's a good team. You can't because they play so many bad teams in the East. There's so many Z teams, let's say. But I don't buy that the Z teams are tanking. I don't buy they were tanking in the NFL. I don't believe Arizona or Washington was tanking. They had injuries. Washington loses Daniels. Are they tanking? I don't think so. The Giants have no quarterback. Jackson Dart. Skadaboo gets hurt. Are they tanking? I don't think so. The Jets, they just have no talent. They have no coach. They have no GM. They have no idea what a team should be. They're just taking the profits because they get all the TV money. So they don't they don't have a good coach. They don't have a good players. Are they tanking? No, they don't want the number one pick. There's no Joe Namath for him now, so they don't care. So there's a difference between tanking and just I don't have any talent, but I'm too stupid to get talent. I don't want talent. I don't consider that tanking. Tanking to me is there's Dagiopava be the first one, so I'm going to lose on purpose so I can draft Dagiopava. Well, I don't buy any of that shit. There's not a football is a whole different animal. I can get Ruben Bain. I can get Bailey from Texas Tech. I don't need Mendoza. So why would I tank for that? Why would I play badly? You can't have players play pro football and tell me they're not trying. And you can't tell me, okay, the only one was Max Crosby who was not injured and they fucked him over because so they tanked the last two games. Oh, we end up being one of the worst teams. So and I think the Giants beat them or something. But the problem is these bad schedules in football. But that's why I look at who they play. So if you beat Kansas City, you're a good team. If you beat the Jets, you still suck. And that's what New England did. They beat the Jets twice, Miami twice, and then they wanted to say they were a good team. No. So that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to analyze the teams, who's good and who's bad. All right, so that's kind of sports. We talked gold and silver. We talked Iran, poker. Um, I was watching Tom DeWan bluffs, and one strategy is I'm going to read you. If you're weak, I'm going to bluff you. So that's their strategy. I think he's weak, and I don't think if I make a big bet, I don't think he'll call. All right, how would I play that guy? All right, just a second. I need water. So, you want to read me, Tom DeWan, and think I'm weak? Am I giving you a true read? Am I really weak or am I acting weak? Which you have no idea because you don't know how to read me to know if I'm really weak or just slow playing a big hand. So you want to make your big bluff. You better hope if I'm really weak, I just fold on you. So you bet 40 grand and I just fold because I don't have a hand. I could come over the top on you because you're gonna have to fold because then I'm saying I'm not weak and you don't have anything. So you're basically telling me you're not weak. You're weak if you're doing that. So you see that happen where the guy kind of the guy bets, and then the guy check raises. That's a very powerful thing. Now, it doesn't mean you always have the big hand, but you got to respect the check raise. Now, again, on the river, most of the time, the guy checks and I bet and he raises, I'm going to call. Very rarely, and I watch when these pros do it, but it's more tournaments. I'm watching high stakes poker. I'm watching the Mike Sexton one, and then I'm watching the World Series of Poker. Well, then I watch the Doyle Brunson one when they're high stakes poker. That's what that is. And that's the one game where it's cash, and then the others, but it wasn't their own money. Daniel Negreanu losing all that money probably wasn't his. And that's the thing. There's no way it's their money. Where are they getting the money from? So that was a question. That was a comment that came up with this John Belair guy who I think is an idiot. And he had a story. Well, my girlfriend, I lost $200,000 11 days in a row. I mean, you lost 2.2 million. And my girlfriend said, where does the money come from? And they laughed thinking she was stupid, but she wasn't stupid. What she was really saying is, where do you have 2.2 million to lose? Where does the money come from? And that was a very good comment. But it went over everybody's heads. And she's saying, where do you get $200,000 to lose? And you do it 11 days in a row. Where do you have this? Where's the money coming from that you have all this money? Because he sure as shit isn't a good player. TK, the Lions just traded David Montgomery to the Houston Texans. Who'd they get for him? Well, Houston's got a very high draft picks. What they took draft picks, it's not very good. A 5th round pick, which is absolutely useless because the 5th round pick, they won't do a good job drafting anybody. Those are stupid trades. A 5th round pick. That's a money trade. So Montgomery, you get his salary off the books, and you're going to get a 5th round offensive lineman who will never make the team. That's like when you saw Boston trade Babe Ruth to the Yankees. It was a money trade. They couldn't afford Babe Ruth. They were going broke, so they gave him to the Yankees for nobody. I think Cincinnati might have done that with Frank Robinson also. They don't have the money. So they can't afford their star, and that's what happens. And he went to the World Series 3 times, Frank Robinson, from the trade. They traded him 65. They go to the World Series 66, played the Dodgers. In 70, they played the 69, they played the Mets. And then in 72, I think they played the Reds. Yeah, that was the one where Brooks Robinson went crazy, and they beat the Reds. I still don't wonder why Frank Robinson's cars aren't worth more. They won 2 World Series. They beat the Dodgers and they beat the Reds. How they lost to the Mets, I have no idea. Well, the Mets had a pretty good pitching staff. Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan didn't even play. He was like a freshman that year, so he didn't play. So you basically had, I'd like to know the scout or the GM on the Mets. Tom Seaver, Jerry Kuzman, Tug McGraw, Nolan Ryan, John Matlock. What the fuck? Who's this guy? And then Nolan Ryan, they get rid of because they have too many good pitchers. Holy shit. Tigers could use a GM like that. So, looking at poker, so you're looking at different strategies, right? It's game theory. He looks weak, make big bets. He'll fold. If I'm that weak, I'm not seeing the hand, or I might see the flop. So if I got 8, 9 of clubs, I'll see the flop if it's cheap. And if I miss the flop and you make a bet, I'm going to fold anyway. I'm probably going to fold. I probably won't even check it. I'll just fold it. Maybe I'll check and see that. And if everybody checks around, maybe I'll bluff at it on the turn. But basically, I'm not even looking at that. I'm gone. It's not hard to bluff me when I got 9-8 and the flop comes ace king and a 4. Yeah, I'm out anyway, and especially if I got clubs and there's no clubs. So I'm not sure game theory is very good if that's what it is, or Tom DeWan's idea of I'm going to bet. I'm going to raise because I think you're bluffing. The Russian girl I played with, I don't know if she was bluffing because people looked weak or she was just bluffing to bluff. I'll make a big bet, everybody folds. I think that's what she was doing. I think that's what Tom DeWan does a little bit. I think some players like Mattisau, oh, he looked weak, so I bet. He went to jail, I heard. Money laundering or some bullshit like that. They all got in trouble with that poker online where it was all fixed and people were cheating. So they shut down all the sites and then they had to pay all the money back and they locked it up. So he got involved with that. Most of the pros they're all a bunch of scammers. I mean, these Las Vegas poker gambler people are they're all a bunch of weasels. They'll all steal you blind. I wouldn't trust them with an ounce of gold. All right, so if I got a pair of aces and I hit an ace, I'm going to slow play it. If I got a pair of aces and I don't hit anything, I'm going to fast play it. I don't know what you call it, and I don't care what you call it. If I have aces or I flop 2 pair and there's 3 clubs out there, I've got to protect my hand. So I'm going to make a big bet. However, if I get a real big hand, I don't want to expose it. I flop 4 of a kind. I don't want to bet. I was watching yesterday. Some guy flops a straight flush, and he bets like an idiot. And he gets called because some guy has like the king of hearts, and there was 3 hearts on the flop. So it gave him like an ace, 2, 3, 4, 5 of hearts. And the guy had the king of hearts. So the guy called to try to get the flush because how do you put him on the straight flush or even the nut flush? But you got to be leery. When I play, if I see 3 hearts or 5, 6, 7, I am extremely leery. He's got a hand. I slow down, put the brakes on. I got 2 pair. I'm not betting it because it's very easy. The biggest thing people have is when a pair hits the board, pair of 9s, and I get a straight or I get a flush. You got to be very careful on those hands because it's very easy to just have like 9 ace, like in rounders, and and the 9s. There's 2 9s on board and the ace. I got a full hop. But let's say I had a straight, and to not recognize it, and then to not recognize KGB with the aces. He kept talking, and I'll check, and I'll just call. The antenna has to go up. If you make any bet and the guy calls you, you have to understand what's the call. Is the call he's on a draw? Is the call he's got a short pair? So in other words, if 9, 10 of clubs hits the board, you make a $50 bet in my world, and the guy calls. He doesn't raise. He calls. Is he on a flush draw? Is he on a straight draw? What is he on? He might even be on a pair of sevens or a pair of tens. And so you don't really know what he's on. But you're thinking, what did he call with? Why is he calling? Does he normally call like this? Most people who call it have a decent hand. He probably on a draw waiting to get the flush or straight, maybe not. And that's really what you got to look at. So that's another thing that you're trying to figure out is what does this guy normally do? But I don't know that there's a normal in poker. Like I say, if I catch set of aces, I play it one way. If I just catch aces or kings, I play it a little more fast because I got to protect them. Because if I just have kings, I gotta bet. I can't. The slow play of the aces and kings is beyond me. These guys are idiots. They can't win at poker if you're slow playing aces pre-flop and then the flop hits and you're still slow playing them. First of all, pre-flop, like I said, I was at a table with like 10 people, and it was a very aggressive table. And I'm first to act, and I catch a pair of aces, and I just check, expecting somebody to have a hand and bet, and then I'm going to go all in. And nobody ever did. And then the flop comes, and there's two twos on there, and I know somebody hit a set because I left them in because I never got the bet. Now, if one guy raised, and I didn't bet anything, I just called. It was like 1-2. I just put in $2, and it went around the table, and nobody did anything. And I'm ready to check raise because this is an aggressive board. I'm going to get 3 or 4 callers, and I got the aces. I would have got the guy with the 2 out, so I'd still be okay. See, that's why you bet it. If I would have bet $50, I don't know if I would have got a call or not, but let's say I get them. And then the twos flop. I'm saying nobody's in with 5-2 or 9-2 or king-2. Nobody's playing for $50 with the 2. So I would have known I'd be okay. But because it was limped in and everybody was still in, I knew somebody had to have the 2. But that's how you got to play. You got to think, what are they doing? And then he kind of smiled and he kind of made a big bet. I knew he had the 2. And I don't know if 2 people had 2. That's a set or just one, but I couldn't play. I had to fold. And then the next card was an ace, and I would have caught aces full, and I would have won. And then the pot got big after the flop, and then on the turn. But that's what you got. So every hand's played a little different. Every player doesn't just have one way of playing. I'm not sure they'll smile at you, but they will. It's the guy that calls that the guy you should be worried about. Why is he calling? And a lot of times they have a pair of tens and they're just going to call you because they have a pair of tens and there's an ace on the board and they don't believe you have it until you show them the ace. I don't know. I mean, like I said, if you know the guy's weak, then maybe you can bluff him. But I like to keep people in the dark, and they don't know really what I have. And that's why I'm so successful. They don't know what I got, and they're guessing. And, I check, and oh, shit, he's got aces, and he's checking. No, I actually have nothing, and I'm checking. They don't know which one I have. That's why you vary it. So they can't say, well, he always does this or he always does that. That's what you were trying to avoid. I was watching Brad Booth play on the Mike Sexton show with Van Patrick and Van Patten, and he does these bluffs with large money. So he's thinking you're weak. That's what he's doing. So he's almost like the Russian girl. if you're weak, he makes this big bet and he's bluffing. And then when he has a good hand, he's checking. I noticed that. And, I don't know if Tom DeWan does that too, but these bluffers, when they do have a good hand, then they resort back to this, I'm going to slow play it, which is a giveaway that he's got a good hand. He's checking because otherwise he's bluffing. Now, is he bluffing to get you away, or is he bluffing because he thinks you're weak? And this is the question that you're trying to figure out. Most of the time, they think you're weak and they make the bluff. And I saw Brad Booth do it against Phil Ivey. Ivey had kings, and Brad Booth had nothing. And the flop came nothing, and maybe like 6-7 or something. And he makes this really big $300,000 bet, and Ivey folds his kings. When Ivey should have been thinking, well, wait a minute. Now, Ivey wasn't weak. I think he bet his kings. So I don't think he was, raising him because he was weak. But on the other hand, he should have thought about, well, what can he have? Did he flop a set? I mean, he could have flopped a set because it was like, let's say it was 3-6-7 or 4-6-7 on the flopper, something where he could have been on a straight draw, but I don't know that he could have got his straight. So if I flopped the set, I would have bet big to get you to fold because there's a straight out there, which would have been, that's what you should do, is protect your, if there's 2 diamonds on board and I got a set, I'm not slow playing it. I can't, because I got to get you off your hand because you're going to catch the flush. So that's one way, is you're trying to protect your hand. That's what I mean by that. But Phil Ivey folded. He had kings and the guy had nothing, but he looked like he had a hand. He bet like he had a hand. And that's where you've got to be careful. Is that what you do? Are you a bluffer? If they figure that you're a bluffer, you're going to get more calls. Although that might be bad if you're bluffing. It'll be good if you're not bluffing. So keep that in mind. Tiki, you have a great mind for all this stuff. Thank you, John. See, that's why I do it. I have a very critical mind. It's a problem-solving mind. And it came from betting when I was 7, 8 years old, watching football with my dad. You're problem-solving the games, but I didn't know what it was. I was trying to figure out, well, who wins, team in white or the team in color, the home team or the road team? Does Iowa or Iowa State? Which is the better team, the one with the university or the one with is Michigan better or Michigan State? Is Oregon better or Oregon State? So I'm thinking like that. I'm problem solving. And now I've just mastered it. And basically everything I do, I'm problem solving. Because once you learn it, you go, wow, this is like, this works all over. It's like getting a genie. This works all over. So I problem solve a lot of girls. Girls don't get me because I look at them and I'm studying them. And, either they think I'm weird or they like the attention, or I don't know what it is, but that's not my intention. My intention is I'm studying people. So if I'm at the pool and somebody walks by, I'm looking at them and I'm studying them. And I, do the same thing when I'm working or at the grocery store, wherever I see people walk by and you're studying them. And, it's just a habit now. But mostly people, you're trying to see, are you safe or not? And what are these? She's attractive. Is it approachable or not? Does she smile or not? And so you're reading all this stuff, which is really key to everything. But when I get into like basketball or baseball, like I just showed you, basketball, that's how I would problem solve it. Looking at where's the best player. So the initial problem is, where's the best player? And where's Tom Brady? That's who you're looking at, because you want to bet on those players. In poker, you're again looking at problem solving. What does he have? What does he normally do? Why did he call me? So if I bet $50, if I go to MGM tonight and bet $50, why did he call me? Why is gold going up? That was my best one. Why is gold 2000? And then I stumbled on Comex and I go, it's price fixed. And I knew exactly that it was worth 10 times what it's showing because like now it was going down when we got on at 10 o'clock, uh, the 10 o'clock drop. Well, why does it? So wait, it's going down, but that was the reason. So I solved the problem because it's comex, it's options and derivatives, and it's fake, and it's done by J.P. Morgan. It's not a real nobody, no demand, and they made a big discovery of gold or silver, which they haven't. So then you start realizing what happened. But you ask the question, why is it 2000? It should be higher than that, or maybe it shouldn't be. But just curiosity, why is it 2000? And then you start understanding it. And then I'd go to the gold store and I'd sing and dance because I knew I got a $2,000 gold ounce for $2,000 that you can see now is worth 5,300. It was 5,400 this morning. I woke up, it's 5,400. And so you start seeing that. And that's really what you're looking at. And you go from there. You see what it is and you go from there. And that's why I'm like in retirement, I'm like, I'm problem solving it. And I'm going, I'm confused. I'm not getting a paycheck. I got money in the safe that I'm going, like today, I had to take some out for rent. And then you go through but then you go, wait, I got all this money tied up in gold and silver, and I don't see the gold go up in value. It goes up in value, but I don't recognize it. When gold went from 2,000 to 5,000, I made 3,000 on the ounce, but I don't see the 3,000. But I still have the gold. But then I realize if I hold the gold, it's going to go to 10,000. So I don't want to sell it at 5 to 10, even though I might need the money because I'm going through my save because I'm basically kind of retired, I guess. In my mind, I'm retired because I have the gold and silver. But, these jobs, I don't know what the job market's like now. All I know is I'm not getting too many calls. I got 5 calls for a 3-month job at some healthcare, Ford Healthcare, which I have no idea. It was ridiculous. They asked for my birth date. I told them to fuck off. You can't ask for my birthday. You can't ask, how old are you? Well, that's not important. Do I fit the needs? And if I do, fine. I'm over 21. I should have said that. And they wanted my birth date. That's inappropriate. And not, I don't want to get the job because I fit a certain age. I'd probably be too old. So that's why I wasn't going to give it, but it shouldn't matter. I can do the job. I've done it many times before. So, you don't, then I wonder, are you a scammer trying to get like a credit card, set up a credit card in my name with my birthday? Because you never get that question. And I've been through enough job interviews and through enough contract jobs to know that's not a question they ask. Anyway, so it's a lot of problem solving. Be it golf, I solve that problem. Oh, you rotate your wrist. You actually turn it, and then when you go back, and then as you get here, you turn it this way, and that's golf. Turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it. But most people do this. They go and then they don't turn they don't release it. They just hit it kind of like, that's why the ball slices into the woods, because you haven't done this. You've kind of hit it like that and the ball goes right. But that was all problem solve. I problem solve golf, but I problem solve everything. And that's just the way I think and I live. And that's the key point. So that's what you're looking at, is the problem solving. If you can understand that concept, it helps in everything. Why did the guy bluff me in poker? Why did he fold instead of not? And you're looking to problem solve what happened in the hand. Why did I bet? Why didn't I realize I was beat? That's why I say you look at him and see if he checks. And if he checks, why did he check? Does he have a big hand, or is he on a draw and he's hoping to catch a flush or a straight? So you have to understand all that. Normally, if they have a set, they bet it. I was in a hand, the flop comes, I got a pair of queens, and the flop came like, I think it was 2 spades and my queen. So now I got a set of queens. This guy's on a spade flush draw, and he goes all in. You know, he's first act. He goes all in. The guy behind him calls. So I put him on a flush draw, and then I look at trip queens. Well, I know I'm winning. It's the best possible hand you can have out because it was like queen, eight, four, two spades. So it's not like four or eight could have me beat. So of course I'm calling. I've got by far the best hand, and just as easily as he can hit the flush, I can hit a full house. So there's outs that he can't have, right? So it those were easy calls, and he played where he goes all in on the draw, and some people don't. Some people check until they hit the draw. Me, I would have bet a lot on the set of queens with the two spades out anyway. But with him going all in, and that was my bet. I didn't have an option. So you're trying to understand things. Why is gold and silver up? Why are we at war with Iran and Venezuela and Mexico and the Ukraine? Because we're broke. We are broke, and we're trying to steal oil or gold or silver from these questions. Look who they're doing. Iran, big oil. Venezuela, big oil, but it's all worthless. Mexico, big oil. And Ukraine, a lot of minerals. And I don't know if there's a lot of oil in Ukraine. I know Russia's got a lot. So, you know, we realize we're broke. We need the minerals for the defense contractors. How we let the defense contractors run the country, I don't know, but they are. And so we got to figure out a way out of that. So it's a lot of problem solving. Um, Women are the toughest because they don't give good tells. So some women give a tell and some women give a different tell. And, some are real pretty, but they get so many guys, they're not interested. Some are not as attractive, but they want the attention, and they'll be better fits for you because they'll be happy that you chose them because they're not as pretty, So that's where it gets like, who do I choose? And it's more normally looks, and then it's reaction, and your problem solving. How is she? Does she smile a lot? Is she friendly? Is she honest? What is she? And that's kind of what you're looking at. I don't know where Kartik is. I don't know if he's crying or happy today. He should have sold on Friday. He'd have been fine. So let's see what our gold and silver's doing now that we're way past the 10 o'clock time. So we see it. It's about 88, down $5 for no reason. And you can see we had a big drop at about 9:30, and then the 10 o'clock drop at 53.30, down to 52.90, and now it's back to 53.15. And all that was done was so they can buy it cheaper. So they wanted to buy gold. They pushed the price down on these options. It really makes no sense to me. And let's see what silver did, down to 87. So silver is sitting there about 54, and no, that's still gold. So gold's sitting there at 90, or silver's sitting there at 95, and we're getting excited. Here comes 100. And then at 9:30, it goes from 93.70 to 88. It goes down $5 in 2 minutes. What the fuck is that? Then it goes back to 90. And then the 10 o'clock drop, and it goes down to 87 and change. And now it's starting to climb back to 88. We know this is bullshit. It doesn't happen every day, but 9 out of 10 days, the 10 o'clock drop. Some days it only goes down 50 cents or $1. Today it went down $6. And it's because there's no buyers. The buyers are all higher. So the guy's shorting it. It's all a game. It's all a Ponzi scheme. It's totally illegal and ridiculous. 53.10 gold. So, again, it keeps jumping, and they're making money when they short and buy, but it's a stupid game. It's a game that they shouldn't be playing because it's a tough game for us, right? It's a tough game It's a tough game for the people holding physical because we see it drop, but it's not dropping because the price is going down. So the people, 99% of the idiots who are buying gold and silver do not understand it. So they see the price drop and they sell. Well, I better get out before it goes down. We who understand it, who have problem solved, will go, it'll come right back because it's all options and nobody's sold gold and gold's usually in demand and the dollar's out. So if you get the whole picture, if you've problem solved it, this is worthless and you don't have a choice. You got to get into gold and silver. And that's what Cart doesn't understand. Oh, oh, geez, it went down. Oh my God, I got to pay. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. You're getting out to borrow money from your dad to buy gold or silver, and you think you're going to sell it next week and pay him back. What are you from Mars? What strategy is that? That's not what we're doing. That's not what you should be doing. You're buying and holding their gold and silver and watching it go up. So again, it's Monday. I don't know this war. Maybe they want to buy silver because they need for the artillery and the drones and the missiles. They need silver for that, so they want the price cheaper, like it matters. But I don't know where Kurt is. All I know is I come on. Whoever comes on, comes on. Whoever doesn't. You're the only one commenting me today. Sometimes I get 5 or 6 people commenting. Bobby used to comment when he'd come on, but I don't. Bobby says he watches them, at night when he can. He's been busy, he said, so I don't worry about Bobby. But that's what you have. So you really don't. You really don't know, but I can't control if Cart's on or Bobby comes on or Luke comes on. I can't control that, so I don't worry about it. But anyway, so we'll keep an eye. We can look at basketball. The problem is it's so difficult because I'm busy with football. When it starts in October, I am not checking out of football to look at basketball. I think it's the end of October, so November, December. I'm toned into the football. Maybe January I can start looking at it. But again, really you pick it up by what you see here. You see these guys playing anyway. So it's basically the stars, and then most of the team don't have stars. So that's again, the leagues, baseball and basketball, probably hockey, don't have enough players that are professionals for these teams. And that is the bottom line. Football, you maybe have 6 or 7 quarterbacks for 32 teams, and you're struggling with Daniel Jones and Dart. Oh, Caleb's a great quarterback, and Golf's a great quarterback. I mean, it's a joke. These quarterbacks suck. But because the league's so bad, they look good. The guy can complete a pass. Oh, he's an elite quarterback. He completed a pass. Or Caleb ran around in circles and ran back 20 yards and heaved the ball, and it was a miracle that the defensive guy, didn't stay with the tight end or whatever. So because Caleb makes these circus passes, he's elite. Excuse me. How about the 3 interceptions he threw against the Rams, one in overtime, that cost them the championship game? That's not an elite quarterback. Drake May, he didn't show up against Denver, and he didn't show up against Seattle. He's an elite quarterback? I don't think so. Against the better defenses, you got to play. Joe Montana did. He got knocked out by Jim Bird of the Giants in '87. And the Giants in 1990, the Giants gave him all sorts of problems, but they went after him. They knew the only way they can beat him, because they had Phil Simms, was to knock him out of the game. And that's what happened. But he got hurt. But that's what you're looking at, is the winners. That's what you want to bet on. The guys with passion that want to win. And there's none in basketball and none in baseball. You got guys, I got to sit out. I played 6 innings. It's time for my nap. Give me my bottle and my nap. Tarek Skubal. What a loser that guy is. I don't know anybody. If you pay, he's in his 30s, by the way. So anybody giving him a 10-year contract for 40 million a year has to be out of their mind. I don't believe that it's real. I believe he'll end up with a 5-year, $50 million contract, and the team will suck. I would not give a guy like that any money. He's not that good. It's just the rest of the league sucks. You got Max Fried on the Giants. You got Paul Scanes, and I'd rather have Paul Scanes at 23. I'd give him 10 years before I give Skubal 10 ye's. Skubal's just, he's average. He's nothing special. He's Vita Blue, right? I showed you the All-Star game. So that's really what you got in sports and in poker. Again, they're trying to read you. They don't know what your two cards are, and there's nothing they can do to figure out your two cards. And you could have some extra, oh shit, I missed the flop. You could be faking. I do that. It's 8-9 of diamonds and the 6 of spades comes out. Ah, damn. I'm just bullshitting. And I know I'm being watched, so it's part of the act. I'm an actor when I play poker. You have to be. You have to mislead the player into believing that you have a good hand or you have a bad hand. And it's all done by the bet. Not any of the expressions that you can show are meaningful. It's the bet. It's the big bet. So again, when Brad Booth makes a big bet on Phil Ivey, it's the fear of losing a lot of money that they can't make. So if you want to make a big bet, you almost always, unless you got quads or a big full house, want to be the bettor, not the caller. And it's hard for your tournament life. It's a cash game. It's hard to call $20,000 on a pair. You might be the winner and you might be right, but can you afford to lose the bet? And that's why you've got to play with people in your same money. So I would never play Phil Ivey because he's got $1 million and I don't. However, if we were playing stakes of, $1,000, I would play Phil Ivey. If it was the same amount, because he can, Doyle, I'll bet $1 million. Well, I can't make the call. I don't have it in the first place, and then I can't afford to lose it, but I wouldn't make the call. So that's what you're really going up against is players like that, where just the size of the bet gets you off and you can't afford to make the call. So you got to play with guys the same range as you. I can afford $1,000. Okay, I got to play with the guys with $1,000 because if they make the big bet, I can't. If you're playing 1,000, some guy makes a $700 bet, you can't afford to call it, and so therefore, that's the bluff. The bluff is I know you can't afford to call it, and you've got to figure out what do I do with it, and is he just making in other words, if he has 4 kings, he's not betting $700. So it's $1,000 hand, let's say, $1,000 bankrolls. So he wants to bet 700. He doesn't want you to call. He's bluffing. But if he had 4 of a kind or a full house, I guarantee you he wouldn't bet 700. That's one way to spot the bluffer is, what do? I got 4 of a kind. I am betting small. At the river, I might bet $100. I want you to call. So I want to figure out a place that you can call because I got you beat. But when they make this big bet, what are they saying? I don't want you to call. Because because I have nothing. So I want to make a big bet to force you out because the odds are you don't have a good hand. And if you don't have a good hand, I'm probably going to the only way I can get you out is to make the big bet. So I can win if I make a big bet because your hand's a pair of tens. You're not going to call 700 with a pair of tens, but you're not thinking straight. What you should be thinking is, well, you don't want me to call. I say this sometimes. Looks like you don't want a call with your big bet. So some guy will bet 100 or something. Oh, you don't want to call. Now, some guys are just betting a lot because they have a good hand and they're excited. But if they make a big bet, oh, you don't want me to call. So depending if I have a hand, that's why I don't stick around if I don't have. If I got 3-9 offsuit, I'm not playing. I'm not. Oh, I'm sure the flop will come 3-3-9. Of course. I mean, that's the thing. You just don't play that. So that's really what you're looking at is why did they make the bet? You're problem solving that because if he had a big hand, he'd want you to call, right? He doesn't want you to fold. If he makes too big of a hand, you're going to fold. He won't win any money because we're all greedy. That's why you don't check raise the river. The guy checks you and you bet and he raises you. He's got shit because if he had any type of hand, he would have made a bet on the river and you'd call it or fold, but he wouldn't check to you because then he won't win anything and he wants to win. So I'm going to bet $50 on my hand because I don't want to, I don't want to win nothing. Otherwise, why am I sitting at the table? So I want to win as much as I can each hand. So therefore, the bet has to go in on the river. And if it doesn't, he might have a very weak hand. And then if you bet, he's not going to come over the top. If he had just a normal hand, he's going to call you and then go to showdown and say, oh, I got a pair of threes. But if he's got a full house, there's no way he's checking it and then raising you. I'd say maybe 1 in 100, he's actually got the hand. Because I'm seeing a little of that where the guy's check raising on the river, but I don't see it. Normally, if you just play with normal guys, none of them are doing it because they all want to win. They're all excited. I'm in Vegas trying to win. So I don't know what's going on in Vegas now, if they're even still open. It's just ridiculous. They have that Grand Prix. I wouldn't even go then. They close roads. I mean, what are they doing? Again, they're broke, so they're just trying to bring in some revenue. But I don't who's going to that. If I went, I would just ignore the Grand Prix. I don't like it anyway. I don't like the loud noise and everything. That's why I don't go to clubs a lot. It's just too loud for me. I need to think. So the neighbor over here yesterday, the daughter was having a birthday party. Great, wished her happy birthday. And all of a sudden, they turned on the TV, and it was like, like really, really loud, like an airplane taking off. And so I'd go knock on. I said, "I'm sorry, but it's way too loud." The party's ending. I said, "Well, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just saying it's maybe you don't realize how loud it is. That's why I'm looking forward to moving. Is I won't have that neighbor next door blowing me out, and hopefully not the neighbor above. I don't know what to do. I've asked for a ground floor apartment. We'll see. I'll have the girl walk on the up floor and see if I hear anything. But anyway, so you do that. But when it gets, I can't handle I got to be able to hear myself think. And when it gets too loud and I can't hear, I don't like that at all because I'm just too much of a problem solver. So I like getting in that zone and I can think like even in the pool last week, it was like Friday before that swim meet. And there was like 5 kids in it and they were just yelling and screaming and splashing. And I like a nice peaceful, go do like yesterday, 40 minutes in the pool, running and swimming. And it was, I can think about gold and football and stuff like that. I do a lot of football picking in the water. Who do I like? And I can really get into it. But anyway, that's what we have. So let's do one more look at our gold and silver and see if it's starting to move. Now 53.04 silver or gold, 87.73 silver. So if we take it back, gold was in the 5,200s for a while. It was in the 5,000s for a while. Then it broke. So we did get into the 53s. It had gone all the way up to 54 this morning at 2 a.m. We had 54.20s. And then it was still like right here just before that 9:30 shot. It was still 54. So now it's 54. And silver, you can see 87, down 6 for absolutely no reason. So again, it's a good day to buy because there's no reason for the price to drop other than options. And the demand in the physical world will keep it up. So it's always funny when you know there's high demand, you know there's low supply. Comex can't handle it. Well, let's see what China's price is today. You know, Comex can't handle it, and yet they and yet the price drops. China silver today, Shanghai is $100, and we're at 87.30. How can it be 14 or $12 difference? What is that? How can it be 90? And notice the same trend. It goes up and then it went down at the 9:30 drop. The difference is they jumped back after it and we didn't. But look at how can there be what's the real price of gold? The 100 or the 87? And this is where I draw your attention. And let's look at the gold price today. 53.35. Okay, we're at 5,300 now. All right. So it's a $30 difference. It's mostly in the silver. But you can see this is where China's at. Anyway, that's, what's the price? And even that $100 price on silver in China's not right. That's a spot price. That's not a physical price. They're still looking at COMEX to kind of derive their amount. So once COMEX dies, then we're going to get really strong action. But because you notice the drop, they both dropped at the same time, the silver price. Well, that's still the options. It's not physical. The physical didn't drop it. It's still the options. So you must understand that's just more bullshit. Anyway, we'll see this NFL draft, the combine, the stupidest thing in the world. How fast can you run in shorts and a t-shirt? Yeah, that's they do that in the game all the time. Yeah, I see the guys take their uniform off. They're in shorts and a t-shirt, and quarterback hands them the ball, and they're running. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the quarterback, yeah, he's throwing in shorts and a t-shirt with no rush, no lineman, no receiver. Yeah, I see. That's almost every play I see that. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's totally meaningless. I don't even understand the point of the combine other than it's something else they can show on TV because it makes no, I would never draft. I'm drafting a guy watching a game. Yeah, I'm going to watch the USC Washington game to see how good the quarterbacks are and everything else. And just because a guy is decent, oh, the Washington quarterback, he'll be the number one draft pick. And Arch Manning, who sucks, yeah, he'll be the number one draft. Or, it's all bullshit. It's to get you to argue about it, right? That's why they do it. It's the stupidest thing. So you're going to argue, no, Arch Manning's not the number one quarterback. That's why they're doing it. So you can argue the point and problem solve and go, that's not right. All right, I think it's time for lunch. It's 1, and then I got to do my application for the apartment, and then I got to go to the pool and have lunch. So anyway, I hope you have a good day. I hope you're not too worried about gold and silver. As you can see, gold's in the 53s. Silver got up to 95 or 96 today, and now it's back down into the 87s, which makes no sense. It'll be bought up because there's profit to be made. So some guy shorted it and it went down and he made money. And then later on, China gets the ball. It'll be bought because now it's cheap at 87 and it'll go back up to 93. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. There's nowhere intact that it's first of all, it's not legal. Secondly, it's not a market. It's not a free market. It's not legal because it's price fixing. Price fixing is illegal. And when you're lowering the price like that, that is price fixing. It's not illegal to short, but it is illegal to price fix. And that's what they're doing. That's why I say it's illegal because they are price fixing. And anyway, I think that's about it. So have a wonderful March. A nice Monday, March 2nd. My birthday's coming up this week. I expect a lot of good birthday wishes. And we'll see. I'll probably buy, well, at this rate, I might buy 4 ounces of silver, or at least 3. And that's it. So anyway, have a wonderful day. www.teaserking.com. And I will see you tomorrow. So enjoy. All right. Take care, everybody.